Hello and welcome to A6 Battlerite. I'm Alpha 6 and I hope everybody had a good New Year's. This video is going to be a little different. I've seen a question asked around a lot about what character should I play, who should I buy next, who is strong and OP to use. So I've decided to make an overview of what makes each character who they are and what separates them from the rest. Now, a lot of players won't have the All Champions pack and it kind of takes a while to get all the gold together to purchase all the characters, so hopefully by the end of this video you'll know which character fits your playstyle and who's right for you, because there's one out there for everyone. And in this video I'll mainly be covering the melee champs to begin with before I move on to the ranged and the support. So let's start with Bako. So if your type of character is to disrupt the enemy while absorbing a ton of damage, then Bako is the one for you. With his shield he can slam his enemy into the wall or reposition them away from their team. His leap allows him to make a mighty entrance or a quick escape. Combine the two and you have a nice way of taking the center orb away from your opponent. His shield can backfire projectiles and stun melee attackers, and he can also give himself and his allies around him a shield. With some pinpoint accuracy, his ultimate can take a champ across the map, dealing a ton of damage and isolating them from their team. Bako is a tanky melee who excels at being at the front line and reflecting ranged projectiles for your team while disrupting the enemy. He has a strong zoning potential and is probably one of the best for peeling. He's a good start for any player. If you prefer a more roguish approach, then Croak is the one for you. He's super nimble with a high burst potential, however the strength that sets Croak away from the rest is his ability to go invisible, which you can use offensively or defensively. He's good at harassing the enemy backline and forcing them out of position since he can go in unnoticed. His base damage is quite low, but due to his high attack speed this allows him to do a quick burst, apply the toxin blades, and you'll pack even more of a punch while healing. His ultimate allows him to dash forward, inflicting venom to everybody caught within, making them explode after a few seconds. It's a nasty surprise to catch the enemy off guard with. Croak is your traditional rogue. He's mobile, hard-hitting and annoying to deal with. His invisibility and poison is what makes him stand out from the rest of the melee champs, however he is quite squishy, so that does make him quite difficult to master. Next up is Freya. If you like to deal a ton of damage but like being able to apply self-shielding to keep you going through the thick of the fight, then Freya is definitely the champ for you. A lot of her abilities have invincibility frames, making her unable to take damage while she's performing them. She can inflict static on her enemies, making her basic attacks deal more damage. She's solid when it comes to fighting characters one-on-one, however with her ultimate she has the ability to land nearby, dealing massive damage in an area around her. With her combination of armor, damage and mobility, Freya is a solid bruiser and a jack of all trades. Freya has a lot of invincibility frames, strong self-shielding and good damage, making her great at 1v1 fights. Her kit's not too complex and offers a lot of flexibility, making her easy to pick up and play. However, she only has one mobile ability, making it hard for her to get out of fights once she's in. The next character is Raigon, and he's one of the most versatile champs out there. He has a good ranged gap closer, a shield that reflects projectiles and melee attacks, a powerful jump attack, a dash attack that heals, both of which combined give him great mobility to chase with. His Dragon Fist can push enemies into wall while dealing damage, while his ultimate has a massive area which is great for claiming the center orb. Overall, Raigon does many things very well, making him a solid pick for beginners. His kit's really easy to understand, he deals high amount of damage, while also sustaining himself. He has the tools to chase down fleeing opponents, which allows for very aggressive playstyles. If the tanky playstyle is for you, but you want to dish out a bit more AoE damage, then you should try Rook. This character can dish out a lot of CC, including knockback, stun, and the ability to incapacitate your enemy. This allows for a lot of combo potential with your team. However, one thing that sets Rook apart is his ability to eat his meat on the fly, which allows him to heal as long as he has the energy for it. The fact that Rook can self-sustain and disrupt the enemy team with ease makes him a force to be reckoned with. Rook is a brute whose main point of victory is through brute force. He has many ways to stun and disrupt the enemy while also being able to keep himself in the fight. His space ability is a great gap closer for getting in, but leaves him with no ways of getting out. If I had to describe Rukhan in one word, I'd say he was a hybrid. He has just as much potential to hit you hard from range as he does up close. He doesn't have to get up close to be effective like other characters, as he has a high powered Shadow Bolt that hits like a bus. His Shadow Claw can pull you in closer without him having to blow his mobility cooldown in order to close that gap. If he consumes projectiles with his shield, it resets the cooldown of his Shadow Bolt. He doesn't have much hard CC in order to start fights, but he makes up with this by being able to play a great passive playstyle from range while still having the tools to fight up close when required. Rukan is great at playing passive with his long range poke. Due to him having low amounts of CC though, he can sometimes find it hard to engage teamfights, but with his Curse lifesteal he can outlast most champs, and with his double space, teleport and claw he becomes an excellent chaser. Shifu is probably the stickiest champ in the game, with 2 ranged gap closers that pull him to the wall or enemy that he hits while still allowing him his spacebar to further chase or to get out of a tough situation. Combine this with his Incapacitate and you can take an enemy out of the fight for a few seconds, giving yourself some breathing space. His counter, if hit, will place him right behind the person who triggered it, allowing him to further deliver the high damage burst that he's capable of. One of the main strengths of Shifu is his immaterial on his space, which allows him to become immune to everything while still being able to deal damage. Now this is crucial for his burst, as the more charges on his weapon, the more damage he will do with his lunge. His ultimate is a large AoE that shreds enemies and ignores counters. Shifu has all the necessary tools in order to infiltrate the backline to target the vulnerable characters. Due to his mobility and the immaterial, he can become very hard to peel off once he has a good foothold, especially with his self-sustain on his EX space. This champion is quite hard to master, and an essential skill to learn with Shifu is knowing when to back out of a fight. Fawn is for the player who enjoys having high self-sustain, high damage absorption and high control over the battlefield. With Fawn you can take an enemy out of the fight with your entangling roots, you can poke at them with your fawns that will heal you, or maybe you'd like to burrow underground and pop up on a vulnerable target. Using Evil Clutch you can pull the enemy towards you or even the orb for an easy claim for your team. Fawn is pretty much a bully. With the large amounts of CC at his disposal, he is excellent at dividing the enemy team up. He usually does well in tight spaces and he excels outlasting his opponent. Fawn's ultimate is a great way of blocking off enemy teammates while also blocking any projectiles passing through the wall he leaves behind. Overall, Fawn is great for beginners to pick up and play. His kit is easy to use and offers a variety of ways to play the champion. His strong CC and sustain and control makes him tough to deal with, however once he goes in he has to commit, as he has no ways of getting out without the aid of his team. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please feel free to give it a like, it helps me out more than you might think. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I've been Alpha 6 and I'll catch you in the next one.